Well, check this out. Wichita's Asian American community celebrating the Lunar New Year today. Spencer, you talked to those there about the significance of that holiday and what it means to keep those traditions going.
It might look like a small gathering, but for Wichita's Asian American community, it's a big deal. Kim Son Asian Market hosts the celebration every year, timing it for the weekend to give everyone a chance to come together.
So that is one of the most important of the year, one of the celebration.
Owner Kim Nguyen says they're celebrating Tet, the Vietnamese version of Lunar New Year. And for her, it's not just about the holiday itself. It's about making sure people feel connected, even in a community that can sometimes feel small.
It holds a special, unique, deep place in Vietnamese culture. It brings, the families together.
Tet has a lot of traditions, but there's one that really draws a crowd.
The highlight of today's events is the traditional lion dance. Let me move over to the side so you guys can really see what's going on.
Under those colorful costumes, two dancers move in perfect sync, bringing the lion to life. The All Saints Dragon and Lion Dance team says they practice every weekend, not just to perform, but to keep their culture alive.
That's the whole purpose of us making this team is, first of all, to continue to the traditions, and then second of all, to have a safe playground for everybody our age or anybody.
The message is simple: good luck, fresh starts, and the idea that together is stronger.
The new year is representative of luck and prosperity, but also represents togetherness. We belong together. We should work together to achieve our dreams.
A day to come together and to celebrate what connects them. In Wichita, Spencer Yu, 12 News.
And Lunar New Year celebrations will continue throughout the week.